this is an example. I know you can't yet see the whole art piece, but I'm giving an example of how I start with intuition. And intuition has a lot to do with gestural strokes, my choice of colors that I'm imbibing in this process. That is very intuitive. It is not formed before. What am I feeling that time? What is the intensity or the emotion tied to it? So that is where I start with, and you see a lot of that in the background in art picture as we go through. And that it doesn't end there. That continues as a lingering sort of connectivity or thread in the process. It is followed by intentional. So my intuitive process is then followed by intentional aspects, and which that intention brings the composition into practice. So which sort of elements go in? What is the story I'm trying to tell? Is it doing enough justice to what I'm looking for? So you start getting layers in that sort of art piece and the story emerging. This example piece that I'm working on currently is I'm thinking about Costa Rica. And the nature of Costa Rica being so close to us and yet so conscious of environment around them, so conscious of the nature around them, and yet being lively. So the colors, the intensity of that time there that I just had taken a small break from work a while ago, almost 8-9 years ago, but it lingered in my memory. So they have a concept called pura vida in Costa Rica. Pura vida means the love for life, zest for life. And hence you see a splash and a smorgasbord of colors here, because these represent those aspects of Costa Rica that stuck with me. And you're looking at, I mostly play on canvas that is pre-framed in that era. My colors are very, very dense acrylic sort of colors, very, very heavy paints. I like that I can use acrylic to move between a water flow or watercolor effect onto oil effect as well. So that flexibility allows me to create stories with that much sort of influence as well. So I am an artist of experimentation too. My tools are not just brushes. I stretch between brushes to palette knives to much more sort of range of experimental techniques to just make sure I bring the story correct. I'm less concerned about the means for it, but yes, the outcome. So some of the outcome in the art piece is intuitive and some of it is quite intentional in my case. It has received now 7 layers already we're looking at. So and the layers should not be that visible to the processes, should not be that visible to a viewer. It should combine itself into a coherent sort of story. And for me, making sure the highlights and the things that jump out in that story are captured is where I'm sitting at currently. So looking at that perspective and going, how as an artist I can transcend that down to the medium I have and not just in my memory. So this is where I am. I'm now looking at changing my modality from using hard paint and brush strokes and palette knife onto moving into modalities where I'm using much more liquid form, and then applying that in layers, and as I go and giving it form. And that's where I am. So you're looking at slightly moving from just a background and a landscape-ish sort of area onto now finally what is going to jump out of the painting, and the characters emerge. So that's where I am.